I chose my stepson over my biological son for 30 years. I gave away his room, ignored his bullying, sent him to live with his aunt when his mom died, and skipped his wedding for a restaurant dinner. When his stepbrother's business failed, I demanded he pay for it. He told me to never contact him again. Now I'm alone in a studio apartment on Christmas while he raises a family I'll never know. I missed my son's wedding because my wife made dinner reservations. I need you to understand exactly what kind of father I was. My only biological son, the boy I brought into this world, the child who spent his entire life waiting for me to show up. He got married without me there. And the reason I wasn't standing beside him on the most important day of his life is because my wife wanted to take my stepson out for his birthday dinner. Same day. Same time. And I chose the dinner. I chose a restaurant meal over my son's wedding. And when he called me, heartbroken, asking why I wasn't there, I told him to move on. I told him he was being dramatic. I told him family isn't about showing up to events, it's about love. I said that. To a son I never showed up for. To a son I never loved properly. To a son who spent 28 years hoping his father would choose him, just once. He hung up and never spoke to me again. That was 3 years ago. I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep. Because every time I close my eyes, I see his face at 8 years old, waiting by the window for a father who never came. I see him at 12, asking why I didn't come to his football match. I see him at 18, walking across a graduation stage while his seat in the audience stayed empty. I see him at 28, standing at an altar, looking at the door, hoping I might still walk through. I didn't. My name doesn't matter. I'm 54 years old, and I destroyed the only good thing I ever created. My son. My firstborn. The boy who deserved everything and got nothing from me. His name is Ryan. His mother was my first wife, Sarah. We met in college, got married too young, had Ryan when we were 23. The marriage didn't last. We were different people, wanted different things, fought about everything and nothing. We divorced when Ryan was 4. I should have stayed in his life. I should have been the father he needed, even if I couldn't be the husband Sarah wanted. But I was 27, selfish, angry, and convinced that my failed marriage was somehow her fault. I paid child support because the court made me. I visited when it was convenient. I called when I remembered. Which wasn't often. Ryan grew up waiting for me. Every other weekend was supposed to be mine, but I canceled more than I kept. Work was busy. I was tired. I had plans. There was always an excuse, and I always believed them. When Ryan was 6, I met Linda. Linda was everything Sarah wasn't. Organized. Ambitious. She knew exactly what she wanted, and for some reason, she wanted me. We got married when Ryan was 8. A year later, she brought her son from her previous marriage into our home full-time. His name was Derek. He was 10. From the moment Derek moved in, I made a choice. I didn't realize I was making it at the time, but I was. I chose my new family over my old one. I chose the son who lived under my roof over the son who lived 30 minutes away. I chose convenience over responsibility. Derek called me dad within 6 months. I let him. I liked it. It felt like a fresh start, a chance to be the father I'd failed to be with Ryan. But I wasn't being a better father. I was just being a father to a different kid. Ryan noticed immediately. He'd come for his weekend visits, and find Derek in what used to be his room. I'd moved Ryan to the smaller guest room because Derek needed more space. Ryan didn't complain. He just got quieter. He'd ask me to play catch, and I'd say I was busy helping Derek with homework. He'd want to show me something he'd made at school, and I'd half listen while scrolling through my phone. He'd try to tell me about his friends, his interests, his life, and I'd forget everything he said by the next visit. Linda didn't help. She never said she didn't want Ryan around, but she made it clear in 1,000 small ways. She'd schedule family activities on my custody weekends, then act surprised when Ryan felt excluded. She'd buy Derek new clothes and toys while Ryan wore hand-me-downs. She'd correct Ryan's table manners, his volume, his presence, until he learned to make himself invisible. I should have stood up for him. I should have told Linda that Ryan was my son and he belonged in our home just as much as Derek did. Instead, I told Ryan to stop being so sensitive. The bullying started when Ryan was 11. He was small for his age, quiet, the kind of kid who read books at recess instead of playing sports. Easy target. A group of boys at his school made his life hell. They called him names, took his lunch money, pushed him into lockers. He came home with bruises he tried to hide and stories he was too ashamed to tell. Sarah called me, begging me to do something. To talk to the school. To spend more time with Ryan. To show him he had a father who would protect him. I told her she was overreacting. Boys will be boys. Ryan needed to toughen up. He needed to stop being such an easy victim. Those words. I said those words to a mother watching her son fall apart. Ryan heard what I said. Sarah told me later that he was standing in the hallway, listening. He heard his own father call him an easy victim. He heard me blame him for being bullied. He stopped asking me for help after that. The bullying got worse. Ryan got quieter. He started spending all his time in his room, stopped bringing friends home, stopped talking about school. Sarah tried everything. Therapy, new activities, even considered moving to a different district. I paid child support and told myself I was doing my part. When Ryan was 14, Sarah got sick. Cancer. Aggressive. By the time they caught it, there wasn't much the doctors could do. She fought for 8 months, and Ryan was there for every moment of it. He held her hand during chemo. He learned to cook so she wouldn't have to. He grew up overnight because he had no choice. I visited twice. Twice in 8 months while the mother of my child was dying. I sent flowers. I sent cards. I told myself I was being respectful of her space, that she probably didn't want to see me anyway. The truth is I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to see what my absence had done to my son. I didn't want to face the reality that I'd abandoned them both. Sarah died 3 weeks before Ryan's 15th birthday. Ryan called me that night, sobbing. He was alone in an empty house, his mother's body had just been taken away, and he had no one else to call. "Dad," he said. "Please. I need you. I don't have anyone else." I told him I'd figure something out. What I figured out was sending him to live with Sarah's sister, 2 states away. I didn't take him in. I didn't even consider it. Linda said it would be too disruptive to bring a grieving teenager into our home. Derek was in high school, focused on his grades, applying to colleges. Having Ryan around would be too much. I agreed with her. I sent my orphan son to live with an aunt he barely knew instead of bringing him home where he belonged. Ryan begged me. He said he'd be good. He said he wouldn't cause any trouble. He said he just wanted to be with his dad. I told him this was for the best. I told him his aunt would take better care of him. I told him we'd still talk all the time, still see each other on holidays, still be father and son. I lied. The calls became monthly, then quarterly, then birthdays and Christmas if I remembered. I missed his 16th birthday because we took Derek on a college tour. I missed his 17th because Linda planned a cruise. I missed his 18th, his graduation, the day he became a legal adult, because I don't even remember why. There was probably a reason. There was always a reason. Ryan stopped reaching out after graduation. His aunt told me he'd gotten into a good college on a full scholarship. He'd worked his way through school, graduated with honors, got a job at a tech company. He built an entire life without me. I told myself that meant I'd done something right. That he turned out fine. That he didn't really need me after all. I was so blind. When Ryan was 26, he reached out. He called me out of the blue, voice steady, and said he wanted to try to have a relationship. He was in therapy, working through his childhood, and his therapist suggested he give me a chance to be part of his life again. I cried on the phone. I told him I was sorry. I told him I wanted to do better. I told him I loved him. For 2 years, we rebuilt. Slowly. Carefully. He'd call once a week. We'd meet for lunch when he was in town. He met Linda and Derek again, tried to be civil, tried to find a place in my family. But I hadn't changed. I still canceled plans when something came up with Derek. I still let Linda schedule over our time together. I still treated him like an afterthought, like someone I could fit in when it was convenient. He got engaged when he was 27. A wonderful woman named Michelle who loved him completely. He asked me to be at the wedding. Not in the wedding party, not walking him down the aisle, just there. Just present. Just once. The wedding was scheduled for June 15th. On June 1st, Linda told me Derek's birthday dinner was the same day. "We've had these reservations for months," she said. "Derek specifically requested that restaurant. We can't cancel." I should have said no. I should have told her that my son was getting married and nothing was more important. I should have been a father for the first time in 28 years. Instead, I called Ryan and told him I couldn't make it. The silence on the phone lasted so long I thought he'd hung up. "Why?" he finally asked. "Derek's birthday dinner. The reservations are already made. You understand?" "No." His voice was barely a whisper. "I don't understand. I've never understood." "Ryan, don't be dramatic. It's just a wedding. You'll have photos. We can celebrate later. Just a wedding, He laughed, but there was no humor in it. My wedding. The one day I asked you to be there for. And you're choosing Derek's birthday dinner. I'm not choosing anyone. I'm just. You've always chosen them, Dad. My whole life. And I kept coming back, kept hoping, kept telling myself that this time would be different. But it never is. Ryan. Don't come. Don't come to the wedding, don't call me, don't pretend you're my father anymore. I'm done. He hung up. I went to Derek's birthday dinner. I ate steak and laughed at stories and toasted to my stepson's 29th year while my biological son stood at an altar without his father. Ryan's aunt called me the next day. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. He waited, she said. He kept looking at the door during the ceremony, hoping you might still walk in. Michelle's father offered to stand with him, and Ryan almost said no because he thought maybe, just maybe, you'd show up. I didn't say anything. You were never his father, she continued. You were just the man who helped create him and spent the rest of his life proving he wasn't worth your time. She hung up. I told myself Ryan would forgive me eventually. He always had before. He'd calm down, remember the good times, reach out again. 6 months later, I needed money. Derek's business had failed. A restaurant he'd sunk his entire savings into, plus a loan I'd co-signed, gone in 18 months. He was in debt. I was in debt. We needed $200,000 or we'd lose the house. I knew Ryan had money. His tech job paid well. He'd been smart with investments. He could afford to help. I called him for the first time since the wedding. I need to ask you for something, I said. It's about Derek. Ryan laughed. No. You didn't even hear what I don't need to. The answer is no. Whatever you want, whatever Derek needs, the answer is no. Ryan, we could lose the house. Your stepbrother is in serious trouble. This is family. Family, he said the word like it was poison. You want to talk to me about family? You missed my mother's funeral to take Derek to a basketball game. You sent me away when she died so Derek wouldn't be inconvenienced. You skipped my wedding for his birthday dinner. And now you want me to write a check to save his failed business? I know I haven't been perfect. You haven't been anything. You were never there, Dad. Not once. Not when it mattered. And now you call me after 6 months of silence, not to apologize, not to try to fix things, but to ask for money. For him. Ryan, please. Goodbye, Dad. Don't call me again. The line went dead. I called him 17 times after that. Every call went straight to voicemail. I left messages. Apologies. Explanations. Promises I had no way of keeping. Each one more desperate than the last. He never responded. I tried email. Blocked. I tried reaching out through his aunt. She told me Ryan had asked her not to share any information about his life with me, and she was going to respect that. You did this, she said. Not him. You. And now you have to live with it. I drove to his apartment once. I sat in the parking lot for 2 hours, rehearsing what I'd say, working up the courage to knock on his door. When I finally got out of the car, a security guard stopped me. Are you Robert? He asked. I nodded. Mr. Chen said if you ever showed up, I should tell you to leave. He doesn't want to see you. If you don't go, I'll have to call the police. My own son had given his security guard my name. He'd prepared for the possibility that I might show up, and his preparation was to have me removed like a trespasser. I drove home and didn't try again. The financial fallout was immediate. Derek's business collapse took everything. We sold the house. Moved into a rental apartment half the size. Linda blamed me for co-signing the loan. I blamed her for encouraging Derek's restaurant dream when he had no business experience. We stopped talking about Ryan entirely because every time his name came up, it turned into a fight about whose fault it was that he wasn't there to help. The truth was it was my fault. All of it. Always. I'd spent 30 years building a life with the wrong family while ignoring the one I'd created. Now the wrong family was falling apart, and the son I'd abandoned wouldn't even take my calls. Derek moved back in with us 8 months after the business failed. 30 years old, unemployed, sleeping in our spare bedroom, playing video games until 3 a.m. Linda made excuses for him. He was recovering from trauma. He needed time to figure out his next move. He was sensitive. Sensitive. The same word I'd used to dismiss Ryan's pain for decades. I looked at Derek one morning, sprawled on our couch in his underwear, watching TV at noon on a Tuesday, and I felt something I'd never felt before. Resentment. I'd given this kid everything. My time, my attention, my money, my presence. I'd chosen him over Ryan 1,000 times. And what did I have to show for it? A failed business, a mountain of debt, and a stepson who couldn't even thank me for the sacrifices I'd made. Ryan had gotten nothing from me. Nothing. And he'd built a life anyway. A successful career. A loving marriage. A future. All without his father's help. All despite his father's absence. He was the strong one. He was the success story. And I'd spent his whole life telling him he wasn't good enough. Linda and I divorced a year after we lost the house. 23 years of marriage, ended not with a bang but with a slow, exhausted surrender. We'd run out of money. We'd run out of excuses. We'd run out of reasons to pretend we were happy. Derek stayed with her. Of course he did. I was the one who'd lost everything for him, and he still chose his mother. I moved into a studio apartment on the other side of town. 400 square feet. A bed, a kitchenette, a window that faced a parking lot. This was my life now. This was what I had to show for 54 years on Earth. I started seeing a therapist because I had no one else to talk to. Her name was Dr. Patterson. She was direct and unflinching and didn't let me feel sorry for myself. "Tell me about Ryan," she said in our first session. "He won't talk to me." "Why?" So I told her. Everything. The cancelled visits, the bullying I ignored, Sarah's death, sending him away, the missed graduations and birthdays, the wedding I skipped for a restaurant dinner, the phone call asking for money. By the time I finished, I was crying. "How do you feel about what you did?" she asked. "I feel like a monster." "You're not a monster. Monsters don't feel remorse. But you were a terrible father to Ryan. You need to accept that before you can move forward." "How do I fix it?" "You might not be able to. Some damage is permanent. Some relationships can't be rebuilt. The question isn't whether you can fix it. The question is whether you can learn from it." I went to therapy every week for a year. I unpacked every choice, every excuse, every lie I told myself. I confronted the man I'd been and tried to understand how I'd become him. My father was distant. That was the easy explanation. He worked constantly, showed love through money instead of presence, treated my mother like a housekeeper and me like an inconvenience. I'd sworn I wouldn't be like him. And then I became worse. At least my father was consistent. He was absent for everyone. I was selectively absent. I gave everything to Derek and nothing to Ryan. I showed my son that love was conditional, that family was a choice, that he wasn't worth choosing. He learned that lesson well. He applied it to me. I wrote Ryan a letter 6 months ago. Not asking for anything. Not making excuses. Just apologizing. Truly apologizing for every failure, every absence, every moment I chose convenience over him. I mailed it to his aunt and asked her to pass it along. 3 weeks later, I got a response. Not from Ryan. From Michelle, his wife. "Ryan, read your letter. He asked me to write back because he doesn't trust himself to do it without saying things he'd regret. He wanted me to tell you that he appreciates the apology, but he can't accept it. He spent years in therapy processing what you did to him. He's finally at peace. Having you in his life would undo that progress. He hopes you find healing, but he needs you to understand that healing can't include him. Please don't contact him again." I read that letter 47 times. He was at peace. Without me. Because of my absence, not despite it. My son's healing required my permanent removal from his life. That's what I'd done. That's the father I'd been. So toxic that my own child's mental health depended on never seeing me again. My mother called me last month. She's 81 now, living in a nursing home 2 hours away. I visit when I can. She's the only family I have left. "I heard about Ryan," she said. "About everything." "Who told you?" "His aunt. We've stayed in touch over the years." She paused. "I saw pictures of his daughter." My heart stopped. "His what?" "His daughter. She was born last spring. Her name is Sarah. After his mother. I have a granddaughter. A granddaughter I'll never meet. A granddaughter who will grow up without knowing I exist. A granddaughter named after the woman I abandoned, raised by the son I threw away." I sat in that nursing home room and sobbed like a child. My mother held my hand. She didn't comfort me. She just held my hand and let me cry. "You made choices," she said finally. "Bad choices. Selfish choices. And now you're living with them. I'm sorry, Robert. I truly am. But Ryan owes you nothing. Not forgiveness. Not access. Not a relationship. You had 30 years to be his father. You chose not to be. Now he's choosing not to be your son. I know. Do you? Because knowing isn't enough. You need to accept it. Really accept it. Not as a punishment, but as a consequence. The natural result of everything you did. She was right. This wasn't karma. This wasn't revenge. This was simply cause and effect. I'd planted neglect for 30 years, and now I was harvesting abandonment. It's Christmas Eve as I write this. I'm alone in my studio apartment. There's no tree. No decorations. No reason to celebrate. Derek texted me earlier. A generic Merry Christmas with a Santa emoji. I haven't seen him in 8 months. We don't talk much anymore. Turns out, without Linda to maintain the relationship, we had nothing to say to each other. He was never really my son. I just pretended he was because it was easier than being Ryan's father. I looked up Ryan's address once. Thought about sending a Christmas card. Maybe a gift for the baby. Then I remembered Michelle's letter. Please don't contact him again. So I didn't. I'm sitting here instead, writing this confession to strangers on the internet, because I need someone to know what I did. Not for sympathy. Not for advice. Just to say it out loud. I had a son. A beautiful, brilliant, resilient son who survived a childhood of neglect, lost his mother at 14, was sent away by his father, and still grew up to be a good man. A successful man. A loving husband and father. He did that without me. He did that despite me. And I will never know him. I will never hold my granddaughter. I will never sit at his dinner table or hear about his day or watch him grow old. Because I chose a birthday dinner over his wedding. Because I chose a stepson over him. Because I chose my comfort over his pain, every single time for 30 years. If you're reading this and you have children from a previous relationship. If you've started a new family and your old one feels like an inconvenience. If you're canceling visits and missing events and telling yourself your kid will understand. They won't. They'll wait for you. They'll hope. They'll give you chance after chance after chance because children never stop wanting their parents' love. And then one day, they'll stop. They'll realize that the waiting is killing them. They'll understand that your absence isn't an accident but a choice. They'll look at their own children and know they could never do what you did. And they'll walk away. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. Out of self-preservation. Ryan isn't punishing me. He's protecting himself. He's protecting his wife and his daughter from the man who couldn't be bothered to show up. He's being the father I never was. And I'm here, alone on Christmas Eve, finally understanding what I lost. Not what was taken from me. What I threw away. Your children are not obligations to manage. They're not burdens to minimize. They're people who need you, who love you, who will wait for you longer than you deserve. But waiting has a limit. And when they stop, they don't come back. I know. I'm living it. Don't make my mistake.